Welcome, everybody, to the Bison Overtime Show. I'm Grant Hubbard alongside Ethan Eibach. We had some great Final Four action over the weekend and some FCS football news we want to share that impacts NDSU. But first, Ethan, we had some news at the Spectrum this week. So, Ethan, share with us what went down at the Spectrum this week.
Well, the Spectrum named a new editor-in-chief, and it's the man sitting right next to me, Grant Hubbard.
Thank
Congratulations.
You. Thank you. I appreciate that. Long time coming, 2 years at the sports editor desk, but it's a great responsibility that I get to share, and I don't get an announcement I get to share that I have named my replacement as a new sports editor here at the Spectrum. Please reveal yourself and sit down, please. It's Cash Roman, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the program, Cash. You've been pushing buttons the last couple of weeks so you get to be on the show.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Thank you for having me.
It's great for you to be here, and I couldn't have named a better choice to be my successor as a sports editor, and it's you. How does that feel?
Feels great. I'm really excited.
What do you think is going to be, what's going to be the thing you're going to focus on as a new sports editor?
Just getting stuff down in time. And then I'm really looking forward to working with these writers. We got a great group of sports writers.
What sport are you going to be covering? Because I had you covering mainly track and cross country, and you took photos. So what are you going to do What are you going to do now that's your section?
I'm not sure yet. I would say probably basketball first off. I enjoyed writing basketball last semester. So basketball, maybe baseball, and then got to figure out who's going to write the football articles.
Yeah, would you write the football articles? Because if not, I know a guy who would proudly do it if nobody else would.
Yeah, I know I do got a guy. Yeah, Ethan. Yeah, I'll keep my eye on you.
Cash, we appreciate you joining us. If you could join Henry in the back, we appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks
for joining us, buddy. That's Cash Roman, ladies and gentlemen. Get to know the name in the future. So, again, that's a great, for the Spectrum, we got some changes coming. We feel pretty good about that. But as we transition now to the Final Four and the championship games that we saw over the weekend, Florida over Auburn, 79-73. Florida, man, these comeback kings in the SEC championship game, down. I think they were down 10, I want to say, in the second half. They came back to win 79-73.
Yeah, I think the two best teams that were left lost, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
'Cause I thought Auburn was the best team in the whole country coming in, and I thought Duke was really close, and neither of them made it.
They were the number one, or Auburn was the number one overall seed coming into the tournament. They looked the part for the better part of the tournament, but Florida got them by 6. And then the real head scratcher, Houston over Duke, 70-67. It's a principle of basketball. You must first inbound the basketball to win the game. And for some reason, Cooper Flagg and company couldn't inbound the basketball when it mattered.
It reminded me a lot of the Grayson Allen's final game in 2018 against Kansas, where everybody knew who was getting the ball, the last shot, and they just couldn't pull through. But Cooper Flagg's was beyond a choke. That was a complete brick.
I don't understand the shot. I mean, you're not Christian Laettner. Don't take the fall-away jumper. Go to the basket, try to get fouled, but instead misses it short.
I was not impressed with Duke's coaching performance either. It just seemed like they didn't have a plan when they got up.
No, what I don't get is late in the game, I think they're up. I think they're up by, it was like 2 or 3, I want to say. And Zion James is inbounding the ball. They call a timeout, and yet he's still inbounding the ball after the timeout. That's what I don't understand.
I think it all comes down to, a young coach who, he's been coaching for a long time, but when you're in the Final Four your first time, it can be nerve-wracking, and sometimes you just make questionable choices.
Now the questionable choice is, does Cooper Flagg come back? That's the question. Money would tell me. Now, if I was Cooper Flagg, you're going to make a ton of money in the NBA, right?
Yeah.
Problem is the Wizards are probably going to be that team you go to, and that's not a great landing spot to be in the NBA draft. If I was him, think about what Duke's got. They got the Boozer twins coming in next year, and those are the top 2 recruits in the country, I want to say. They're near the top. With Flagg, that's a team that could win another championship, and they should probably be favored next year to win a championship if they have him. So if I was him, I'd come back. But the money, where's the money going to be? That's going to be the question for him.
There's obviously a better chance now than if this happened 6 years ago with NIL. So it's going to take a large number from Duke's, their alumni and team makers or whatever, for him to come back. But I just don't think he's going to. It's because the NBA is just too much money. But I think he should come back. I think it'd be better for college basketball.
I think it's safe to say that I don't know what they call the team makers up at Duke. I bet they got a couple more bucks than they're going to go collective.
Just a little bit.
So we'll see.
Coach K.
Yeah. I think Coach K could help out
Yeah.
a little bit. And then the championship game was awesome. Florida over Houston, 65-63. The ending was underwhelming. Let's put it that way. Houston's got a shot to win it. They get it to their guy Sharp. He's open top with a key. Walter Clayton Jr. soars by Sharp, but the problem is Sharp wanted to shoot it, so he ends up dribbling the ball. But the problem is if he picks it back up after he drops it, that's a travel.
Yeah.
So he can't pick the ball up. And then the clock runs out, and Condon gets the rebound, and that's it. It's just a bizarre ending to what was a game that we thought Houston had. They had this game when they blew it.
Yeah, it was, I think in the post-game presser, they said, the head coach said he wanted him, I mean, if he shot faked, they're down by 2, you can go get a bucket and send it to OT.
But he left his feet.
Yeah, he left his feet, and it just was a disaster after that. Florida was good, though. They were deserving of a national championship, but I thought Houston had it.
I thought Houston was the better team, and they got beat.
Yeah.
I thought Florida was going to win going into the game because I had a bracket that said Florida was going to win. But honestly, you look at that game, Houston was dominating. They were physical inside. They made timely jumpers. But Florida is the only team to beat Houston this year. When Houston holds teams to under 70, they don't lose. They were unbeaten this year. Florida got them by 2 in a game that they should not have lost. Let's go Bison basketball news briefly. Jakari White, he transferred from NDSU for his last year of eligibility. He's going to go play in Charlottesville at the University of Virginia. Earlier this week, his agent put out a list of 5 schools he was going to play for, Houston being one of them. He instead decides to go play at Virginia. Now, Virginia won a national title back in 2019, I want to say. But really? Virginia, they had a losing record. They fired their head coach. Is that really where you want to play?
It's a questionable call, but at the same time, he's probably going to be one of their best players because they weren't great, and he's going to make money. Mm-hmm. It makes sense in a way, but then when you post that you have 5 top teams that you want to go to, and then you go somewhere else just a few days later, it's questionable. But Virginia definitely is not what they were pre-COVID.
Yeah.
But it's Virginia, so you never know.
I think my favorite thing about Virginia is that they hired Ryan Odom as their head coach. So remember that UMBC upset when they beat Virginia? That was their coach. That was UMBC's coach. It was Ryan Odom. He's now coaching Virginia. It's amazing how that world works, doesn't it? So, and then let's go more Summit League based. So Denver fired their head coach. Again, Denver has been pretty much a doormat at the Summit League level. I don't think I've won more than 15 games in a long time. I don't know those stats off the top of my head, but they've been pretty bad at basketball. But their top candidate for their replacement is Tim Bergstrasser, the Minnesota State University Moorhead head coach, who we faked it that they fired Richmond to bring in Bergstrasser that Ethan wrote. Turns out, that may not totally be false because he's going to go somewhere in the Summit League. It's just going to be Denver and not NDSU.
Yeah, for Denver, it's a great hire. I mean, he's probably he'd bring some of his MSUM guys with him. He's a young coach.
Carson Johnson being one, probably.
It makes sense for Denver, but I mean, I wouldn't mind him being in the green and gold.
He won. I think he won over 70 games and lost 25. I want to say he had a dang good record as the MSUM head coach. So hopefully we won't have to go against him. But that deal isn't done yet, so we'll see if they make him the coach or not. That should be official over the next week or so. There's something I saw on Twitter that I wanted to talk about a little bit. So there was a Florida student writer who was at the Final Four, and she posted on her Twitter that there's a rule they have with the Final Four that you can't you can't be yay one side or the other. You gotta be true neutral and just kind of watch the game. You can't watch it as a fan. You gotta watch it as a media member. Well, her team that she's covering won the national championship, and she's trying not to be all excited. She's trying to not gasp or anything. She's trying to be true to being a sports reporter. I'll ask you, Ethan, is cheering for your team as a media member in the press box okay? If you're a neutral reporter, let's say, not even neutral, let's say you're Jeff Kolpak. Mm-hmm. You've covered the Bison since 1995. You were in that office at the Spectrum in the mid-'80s. Is that okay?
I think it would, I don't think, in that example, I don't think Kolpak was gasping and stuff when they're beating Montana State.
He's not that kind of guy, no.
He's
not that kind of guy.
But if you're talking, if they're up playing, I don't know, Georgia, something super unrealistic, and then they win, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
In this case, it was a student, you said, right?
Yeah, it was a student reporter.
It's, if I'm going to the Final Four and NDSU's there, it's going to be really hard for me to not be a little biased. Mm-hmm. But adults, it's different. I think people are taking this a little too far because it is a student. But yeah, as you get older, you mature a little bit.
I think you can change the rules a little bit if you're talking about say okay, let's say you're the Timberwolves and Michael Grady, right? He is paid to broadcast games for the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
He's going to lean more yay Timberwolves. Like I covered Fargo Davies basketball, my alma mater, for 4 years. I was paid, well, for a couple years anyways, I was paid to be yay Davies, right? I was told, be in the middle, but lean Davies, right? That's what you're supposed to do. If you are Dom Izzo and you're covering the Bison football team and you cover NDSU, you're supposed to lean a little more towards NDSU, but you have to be down the middle. So if you're broadcasting for a team, I'm okay with you leaning a little bit, but if you're a true neutral, like if you're writing for the AP, for the Associated Press, you're down the middle. So that's kind of what I think about that.
Yeah, I agree. Like Corey Provis for the Twins, I think he does a good job with that.
Come on, guys.
So, yeah, somebody who doesn't exactly hide who he wants to win is Paul Allen for the Minnesota Vikings.
He crosses that line big time.
I don't think he cares what people think anymore because he suffered through the Vikings for so many years. But yeah, I think if you're hired to broadcast a team, you can be a little biased. Nobody will really care. But if you're freelance or something, then it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So some FBS news, FCS and FBS news came down, I should say. Sacramento State, who has been loud and proud about going FBS the last 3-4 years, I want to say. Their president says they're going to FBS. Well, they have applied, they've now put in paperwork to be an FBS school. It has to go through an FBS oversight. It has to go through lots of committees before they can decide if they're going to go FBS or not. My question is, I think a lot of local media around here's question is, where's the money? Because you need $1 million to get your way out of the Big Sky. That's not cheap. I think the Missouri Valley Football Conference is only $250,000, I want to say. And then they have to pay to be an FBS school. They have to pay their NIL. They have to get a new stadium done, which they've been talking about, but not one tool has been put in the ground to get that stadium built. So where's this money coming from? Because you can't be an FBS school without money, and they want to be an independent. So if you're going to be an independent, all your other sports are being torpedoed all for your football program. Does that make any sense?
No. And if you're independent, it's not like you're
paying for 12 games.
Yeah, you're paying for 12 games, whereas if the Bison play Northern Iowa this year at home and they go to Cedar Falls next year, the costs are offset. But then it's basically just having 4 non-conference games, but 12 in this case. But I just don't get it.
And you're going to have to pay a possible 3-4 Big Sky schools to come to you and play you.
Yeah.
So I don't get why you want to go FBS so badly. You're willing to just eradicate your other sports. And at the Big Sky, because the Big Sky is going to go, okay, if you're going to go, well, then you're done from everything. We're kicking you out of our conference for everything.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's worth it.
No, I think if they were to find a conference, which clearly isn't going to happen in the next couple of years, but Sacramento's a pretty big city, and you have talent in California. I think if they somehow did find a conference, it would work out okay. But for the time being, and especially in the state that the FCS is in, they could be a top 5 team every year if they really invested in it, but they just don't. And that's why you saw them really good in 2022 with Scatabo and all those guys. And then now look what they are. They're just not that great.
But again, they're riding the wave off of what, 3 playoff appearances?
Yeah.
I mean, they got to a 2 seed in 2022, right? And they're best known for losing that shootout to Incarnate Word, because people forget they would have hosted the Bison had they won that game against Incarnate Word. Now, if they would have played in that game and then maybe they upset the Bison, okay, well then if you got to a championship game, then okay, I understand it, because you now have a stable ground to stand on. That's something you can build off of going into the FBS level. They went 3-9, 4-8 last year. They were terrible last year. So is it better to be the 3rd best FCS school in the state of California or the 9th FBS school in California? It just doesn't make sense to me.
You just have to invest, and you can compete at the FCS level, because the gap from 1 through 8 and then 9 through 50 is pretty wide right now.
So, everybody else be damned. They're going to go FBS. They're just going to do it. So let's focus more from Sacramento State to South Dakota. So University of South Dakota has a lot of changes coming into this football season. Bob Nielsen retired. They brought in a new head coach, their defensive coordinator. They're probably going to be picked 2nd in the preseason poll. We don't know yet where that's going to be. But they lost 4 transfers now before spring ball even ends. They lost Gary Bryant Jr., the leading tackler. They lost Joe Cotton, one of their starting offensive linemen. Another starting offensive lineman, Bryce Henderson, he left for Vanderbilt. And Mikey's Grace, which we knew well before this all went down, he's off to Kentucky. So instead of having 3, possibly 4 offensive linemen return, they only return 2. They lose their All-American defensive end. They lose their leading tackler. Where does this put South Dakota now? Because the Bison are going to be number 1.
Yeah.
Montana State and South Dakota State are probably in that 2, 3, and 4 range, with South Dakota be mixed in there as well. Where is South Dakota in your eyes now?
Well, when the season first ended and the first portal window closed, I was like, it's obvious Bison, South Dakota 1-2. Mm-hmm. Now I'm kind of torn between South Dakota and Montana State, because Montana State added a quarterback in the portal. Mm-hmm. They still have Adam Jones. I mean, there's still a lot of talent on the team. South Dakota still has Aiden Bauman and Charles Pierre. I think the gap from 1 to 2 is wide right now on paper. We don't know what the Bison are going to look like officially, but I just think South Dakota they might have to add some guys if they want to compete this year.
So while South Dakota was having some issues in Vermilion, the Bison are in Washington right now. They're at the Capitol in D.C. meeting with President Trump right about now. It's 5:12 on a Wednesday, which is the day they're supposed to be in D.C. They've been there all day, I think, at this point. They might be in the Oval Office as we speak, but name me another school in the FCS that's going to allow for a sitting president to have an FCS football team, not an FBS school, not Georgia, not Alabama. I'm talking North Dakota State is at the White House right now. What do you make of that?
I think the people that come to NDSU, they are like well-mannered, and the people that first went to the White House the first time they saw that, like the president did and all the people that are there, I think they just think it's a great program. And I mean, if you win 10 national championships in 14 years, you're going to get recognized, but by the White House is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And I also think it's pretty funny that South Dakota State wins 2 in a row and they don't get an invite. Who cares?
Yeah, we're not here to talk politics.
Yeah.
But it's just it's just funny to me that, again, President Trump and our senators have a really good relationship. That probably has something to do with it. So I don't know, but it's interesting. It's really cool that an FCS team is at the White House for an event like that. That's just cool. The current team, now I've been at Bison spring practice for a little while. The last couple Fridays is when they're allowing media to come in on those certain days. Watching this team up close, they look just like the national championship teams that we've seen over the years. They look just as dominant. The only change that I've seen is Cole Payton has to wear the purple and yellow jersey, which means don't touch me or your scholarship's getting cut. That don't touch number 9 under any circumstances. He is the leader of this team. There's no question he's the leader. He looks like a man. Again, why would you want to tackle that guy in the open field? It's crazy watching him run. But let's just go through the roster. Just some guys that have been catching my eye, and we can talk about them a little bit. A couple guys that are no longer on the roster. 2 transfers have left. Jalen Peoples, the Texas Tech transfer, the corner, he has left the team, and Mason Wilson, the University of Minnesota Duluth transfer, the defensive tackle, has also transferred. We haven't heard anything about these moves or why they were made or what they did. I don't think they even did anything, but interesting that 2 possible depth pieces are now gone.
Yeah, I think my 2 guesses is either they came here and they really just didn't like what they saw and they're gone again, or I wouldn't say they didn't make the team because they were recruited to come here as a transfer, but it's a weird situation.
It's just odd because there was no reports, there was nothing about these guys breaking any team rules or anything like that. It was just a situation that happened, and they're no longer on the roster. There are a list of players that are not practicing. They're not transferring. Nothing's going wrong. They're sitting out of practice due to rest or possible injury. Bryce Lance, the first Friday I went to practice, he was practicing. The second Friday, which was last week, he did not practice. A little bit of rest, I think, for Bryce. Rajah Nelson is not practicing at all during spring. He's a senior, going to get off his legs a little bit, so he's not practicing. Logan Kopp, he's been dealing with some injuries for the back half of last year, so they're going to shut him down for the spring. He's not going to participate in anything. Enoch Subomana, same kind of deal. He played a ton of snaps last year. He wasn't 100% in the championship game, I think is what I thought or what I was told. So they're resting him. And Barry Penu, who not Barika, Barry, his brother, they got out of the transfer portal. He rolled his ankle, I believe, during a spring practice, so they're slowly working him back in. He is not practiced as far as I can see. But just a list of guys that aren't practicing, but they're going to be here. They're just resting for a period of time. I want to highlight a couple of some positions as we go along here. The quarterbacks. Cole Payton looks fantastic. That left arm looking good there. Leader. That sprint speed is as fast as ever. He's a man that I don't want to get in the way of come September. I feel bad for those Tennessee schools. We got to play like the Citadel and Tennessee State coming up. I feel bad for those boys out in Spartanburg. They're going to have their lunch pack for that game. And then Xander Smith, the 18-year-old freshman who got here from Lakeland, he's been here since the start of this winter semester, and spring semester, I should say. And boy, he looks like a man. He looks like, again, I'm 19. He looks older than me, and he's younger than me. That's crazy. He looks insane. Like, are you high on Xander Smith? Because I think he can be a dude.
I mean, most of the quarterbacks, like when Cam Miller got here, when Easton Stick got here, they're just tall bean poles of guys.
Yeah.
And then Kramer gets them in the weight room, and they're just men. Xander Smith looks like he's been here for 3 years.
235, I think. He's just
Yeah,
insane.
he looks like he's already been working with Kramer, so I'm excited to see. I think has a chance to be the starter next year, but I think 2 years from now he's probably not guaranteed because nothing's guaranteed in college football anymore, but he's probably got the keys for 2026.
Yeah, because I would think
7.
27, I would think, yeah, because it'll be Peyton's job this year. Then Nathan Hayes will probably have a 1-year trial period, and then it's going to be, I don't think Trey Drake will be here by then, so it'll probably be Xander Smith's job. So we'll see. And then I think they have another quarterback commit for next year who might challenge for that, but we'll see. Running backs. Marty Brown looks fantastic. He hasn't changed one bit since the title game. He's looked great. Miles Mitchell, the recruit from Chicago, he looks really good. Fast between the tackles from that Chicago area. Usually an area that South Dakota State has dominated in recruiting is that Chicago area. The Bison really get Miles Mitchell. And then Owen Johnson looks really good. He tore his ACL last year and did not play last year. I know we haven't seen a lot of Owen Johnson, but just from what I've seen in spring ball, he can be really productive. He kind of reminds me of Derek Lang a little bit.
Yeah, he's not the biggest guy, but he's pretty physical. The little bit that we saw of him in 2023 before he got hurt that year, he was kind of coming on there. And now I think he's going to have to compete with Miles Mitchell for that third spot in that depth chart, but he'll get his chance. And, I mean, he's an old guy. Is he technically a junior or a senior? Because he lost.
I want to say he's a junior.
I
have to check that again, but I think he's a junior.
If he didn't get hurt, he would be a senior, but he has an extra year if he wants it. So,
Medical red
he's got
shirt.
Experience, basically.
But now Polasek has that stable of running backs that he wanted. Now you truly have kind of that earth, wind, and fire guys that you could go to. Yeah. You got Barica, you got Marty, you got Money, and then you got Owen Johnson. That's 4 solid running backs that you could go to.
Marty and Owen Johnson are going to be like if you need 4 yards on third down, we're going to him.
You need 1 yard to get you 3 yards.
Yeah, and the other guys are speed demons.
Yeah. Again, Marty and Money sounds like a bad cop show that I would watch. Marty and Money only on NBC. Stuff like that. The wide receiver position, it's loaded, beyond loaded. Bryce, Mekhi Collins, Chris Harris, they're all back. Those are your top 3 receivers. They're all back. Plus this additional supporting cast of guys we've seen throughout spring ball sprinkled in. Silas Evans, who got here, I want to say 2 weeks before the Colorado game. He was a Colorado State transfer. He's looked really good in camp. Jackson Williams, what else do you need to say about Jackson Williams? The kick return demon. He's been really, really good. He's going to play probably more receiver than we've seen before. John Gores, he's been implemented into the offense a little more during spring. I don't know how much they're going to use him during the season, but he's looked really good in the games or in the practice periods that he has participated in. Kate Osterman looked pretty good in his repetitions. The Minnesota transfer, Mr. Football, he's looked pretty good in camp. And a guy they're developing, Logan Conklin from Minot High, they're getting on him quite a bit in practice. And again, you want to get coached in practice, right? I think he's been getting coached up a lot. He's a young guy, he's going to make some mistakes, but this receiver room in general, probably one of the best we've ever seen.
Yeah, it's funny because if you showed me these 5 guys that we have listed off and you said that's our receiving core to start the year, I would be really comfortable. These are the backups.
Yes.
And we have Bryce Lance, Raja, Mekhi. It's ridiculous.
I don't know if I'd be okay with it. I wouldn't be comfortable, but I'm really comfortable with the top 3 that we got. Tight end's a question mark going into the season because Carson Williams, the Buffalo transfer, is probably going to be the starter. But from what I've been hearing through the grapevines, Caden Zenzen looks really good. And when I've seen Reese Kessel practice, the Fargo South product, the players, coaches are really high on Reese Kessel. I think the tight ends could be. No one's going to replace Stuffle. I don't think Stuffle was such a great part of this offense. But getting Kessel, it'll be probably a tight end by committee, I think. It's not going to be as. I don't think the depth's going to be as good, but there is some talent in there.
I think this is a position where you might not see it this year, but when Pulisic was here, we had 3 or 4 tight ends that could be starters.
Yep.
I think that's what he wants to get back to, and I think Reese Kessel has a chance to be a part of that. And then Gabriel Cunningham, who is a 3-star recruit.
Yes.
He'll be probably redshirted this year, but I think this position's wide open for a starter. Obviously, Carson Williams will get the best chance because he's the oldest, but it's up for grabs in my book.
So the offensive line, it's never going to be a question mark because it's the Bison offensive line. It's always going to be good and always going to be productive. They're going to have to replace some holes because Zabel is gone. Jake Rock, the guard, he finally graduated after 6 years, and Mason Miller graduated. So you're down 2 tackles and a starting guard. As of right now, the lineup, I think, is going to look something like this. Now, this is going to change. Bo Johnson, they've been really high on him at left tackle. Looks like he's going to be starting there. Griffin Empey comes back at guard. Trent Fraley comes back. Those two were fantastic last year. Jack Lewinsky, they've been pretty high on. I don't know if he's going to start or not, but they've been speaking really highly of Jack. He's looked pretty good in practice. We'll see how he performs. And Nate Tosted is the right tackle. From what we've seen in the Twitter videos and social media stuff, that was the group that we've seen. I don't know if that's going to be the starting 5 to begin the season, but the Bison have a lot of depth pieces that Dylan Shimura can look at and say, I feel good about that starting 5.
Yeah, and you look at the list, the projected line that we have, the only guy that's a junior or older is Trent Fraley.
Yes.
This could be a group that plays together for the next 3 years, which, I mean, that'd be scary in 2027 or whatever if all these guys are seniors and playing together.
Yeah, Fraley's got this year and then one more, so he'll be here through at least next year. But the offensive line still looks really good and talented. The defense, Cody Heisman, that guy doesn't need any rest. He doesn't have to go out and keep playing. That guy is just a wrecking ball on the defensive front. Probably one of the better defensive fronts we're going to see with NDSU, just on the D tackle spots. Cody Heisman, Keenan Wilson, Jackson Dutenheffer, they're all back. Keenan Wilson didn't get a lot of run last year, but he was mighty productive when he was in there. And Dutenheffer and Heisman, you could potentially have 2 All-Americans in the middle of your defense.
Yeah, I remember the Arizona game a couple years ago. These guys those 2 got thrown into the mix as redshirt freshmen, and they both, at least Dutenheffer was all conference, all newcomer.
Yep.
And now Heisman's an All-American caliber player. It's a lot of experience here, and I feel comfortable with the D tackles, even after losing both the most starts.
I would expect some high sack numbers out of that position. Defensive ends, it's very top-heavy, and there's not a lot of depth behind it as of right now. Again, transfer portal opens a week or so from now, so we'll see what they add or subtract during that time period. Toby Nena comes back, even though Jeff Kolpak mistaked him as Abe Myers for some reason. Nena's back. He could have an All-American kind of season if healthy. And Kelton McCaslin's a guy that could be really good as well if he can stay on the field. He's had some injury issues. And then Abraham Myers sorry, Jeff, he's not Toby and Nena, but Abe Myers can have a breakout season in his own right because he looks the part. Very, very tall, very athletic, can get around the corner. I just don't know. Do you feel good about these 3 guys? I think if they added one more guy, I'd feel better about this position.
Yeah, especially with those retirements, whatever you want to say, with
Zenzen, yep.
With Zenzen and
Coleman's,
Coleman's. Not that those guys were difference makers, but it also helps to have guys like Anene and McCaslin take a couple reps off. But I think these are guys that are going to be good, but we don't have a Greg Menard and a Braden Thomas. We probably need to add one guy in there, and maybe a redshirt freshman like Wyatt Osterbauer or something comes on or something like that. We just don't know.
Linebacker might be one of their deepest positions on this team.
Yes.
This is the list I quickly just jotted down. Nathaniel Staling, coming off an injury, was really good in the games he did play in. Austin Altapeter, the Moorhead product, looked really good in the games that he played in. Donovan Woolens is just a freak. He's a freak with athleticism. He's going to play a ton. And I got to throw a shout out for my guy Oliver Luck. I played with him in high school at Fargo Davies. He's been flying around in the practice time that I've seen him. And then, of course, you got Logan Kopp there in the middle. So it's a linebacker room that's full of talent. It's full of athleticism. This could be pretty much like the wide receiver room. It's so deep and so talented.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like at middle, I mean, if Staling gets hurt, then Altapeter goes in. If Kopp got hurt, then you got Donovan Woolen or somebody like that. I'm really comfortable with this position, almost more than last year, and we had 2 6th-year guys.
Yeah.
It's a really good position group.
Like Benson and Kubitz, they got hurt and never really retained their spots.
No.
Benson got hurt and hardly played after he got hurt.
Yeah. It's it's a position that needs to be good at NDSU just because pride ourselves on stopping the run. And, yeah, it looks pretty good.
Losing peoples at corner because corner is not a position that, I wouldn't say they're freaking out about corner, but it's one of their thinner positions because these are the four guys I wrote down. There are more than these four, but Anthony Chideme Alfaro becomes pretty much the veteran of the room because he's been there just as long as Jaquise Alexander has. And Jaquise is really good in the games he played in. Keegan Huber looked pretty good in the time that I saw him. Then Najee Nelson, who had a pick in a game last year, didn't hear much of him last year. It's a thin position. I would see Polisic dip into the portal for another corner, I would think.
Yeah, corner is kind of a common position for people to add out of the portal, I'd say. And another thing about corner at NDSU, when we were putting together our all-time teams, we kind of struggle with this position because the Bison don't typically have crazy good corners.
Yeah.
But if the D-line does their job and gets pressure, it makes these guys' lives way easier. But I don't think it'll be terrible, but it'll be like pretty average for corners this season.
Just another position that I thought was pretty deep. Just looking at this list that we assembled here, I have 6 names written here. Jalen Crumby, Ryan Jones, Darius Givens, Taylon Edey's a developmental guy they've been working on. Hudson Arts has been in the program for a while. And then Jalen Archibald from the Air Force Prep Academy. I thought you just needed 2 safeties. They have 6 that they can rely on. They're good at safety.
Yeah, if you would have told me that we were losing Cole Wisniewski and Sam Young last year and we were still going to win the national championship
I would have believed you.
Yeah, with the sophomore and a freshman back there. Well, now I'm even more comfortable, especially with how Ryan Jones played at the end of last year. We got 3 really solid safeties, and I think the credit goes to Devin Kleiman. He had I think we'd be lucky if he's on the coaching staff next year.
Him and Will Johnson, the corners coach, we're lucky to have those guys. Like Devin Kleiman, his last name just tells you.
Yeah.
Like, that guy wants to be a head coach someday. He's going to be one if he continues to coach the way he has. Special teams. Now, Caden Steindorf is gone. Again, they're going to have a new kicker and a new punter this year. But, again, Griffin Crosa was Mr. Reliable. If inside 40, that thing was going through the uprights.
Yeah.
This year, Eli Ozick, pretty much the long-distance specialist is what I would call him. He's pretty much going to be I wouldn't call him the main kicker. It's him and Drew Klein that are going to be fighting for that position. I would guess if it's inside 40, I think Drew Klein would probably be the kicker. If it's outside 40, for 50 and beyond, I think Ozick made a 52-yarder in practice that I saw. And then Tim Polisic, he yells from the sideline, Dom, you see that? During practice. So Ozick, he's got a leg. It's just how he's not the most accurate kicker, but him and Klein can be pretty good. And then at punter, Aaron Bickerton's the only punter left on the roster. The England product from Howard was pretty good. The first practice I saw is when he really punted. He was in playing scout receiver when I saw him last Friday. Again, scout receivers are great when you're a kicker and a punter. Like those two, that's all they do during practice is kick and then play scout receiver. They got a great job during practice. But Bickerton looked pretty solid, so we'll see how he looks. But again, you lose, Steindorf, who wasn't the best punter in the FCS, but he was consistent. Crosa was Mr. Reliable. He's the all-time points leader here. So that's a lot to replace.
I think you're right with Klein will be the inside of 40 kicker because I don't think he has the strongest leg. But if you were banking on accuracy, inside of 40, we need to make those.
Yep.
If you're going beyond 45 to 50, it's kind of just a gamble. So why not throw your guy out there that can kick it 60 yards? But I think would be something that would be really cool is that games here at NDSU never really come down to the wire on field goals because they never kick field goals. They score touchdowns. But I could see Ozick going out there for like a 58-yarder or something in the dome and be something cool to watch.
That could happen.
Yeah.
All right. It's Masters Week this week. So we're going to close with something a little fun here. This is the segment we call, What's Your Masters Champions Dinner Menu? So Scotty Scheffler is the reigning Masters champion. Neither one of us follow golf big. My dad follows it a lot. But all I know is Scotty Scheffler is the defending champion. He's the odds-on favorite to win it this year. Henry Cash, let's pull up Scotty Scheffler's dinner menu, please, if we could get to that. So here is Scotty Scheffler's menu. I'll read through it quick. So the appetizers, cheeseburger sliders, firecracker shrimp, Papa Chef's meatball and ravioli bites. Say that 10 times fast. His first course is Texas-style chili. His main course is a choice of wood-fired cowboy ribeye. That sounds good. Or a blackened redfish. And his dessert, which kind of become pretty much a staple at the Masters Champions dinner, is the warm chocolate chip skillet cookie. Try to say that 10 times fast. What do you think of his menu? I like that. I would eat that. I'd enjoy that.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of calories.
You could say that.
Looks good, though.
So we decided to play a little hypothetical of if for some reason the gods blessed us to play golf and play it well, and we somehow won at Augusta. This is what our Masters Champions dinner would be. So let's pull up Ethan Eibach's menu, if we could, Henry. So served to Mr. Ethan Eibach. Ethan, go through your menu here.
Yeah, we got for appetizers, mozzarella sticks and cheese curds. It doesn't really matter where from for me. I like those. First course, mac and cheese. It can be from anywhere. Mac and cheese is just good anywhere for me. Main course, cheeseburgers from Sicky's Garage in Fargo. Got to be that one.
Okay.
And then the dessert, I got mint chocolate chip ice cream, and it's the one from Hornbacher's.
Specifically the one from Hornbacher's.
Yep.
That's interesting. So again, if Ethan Eibach was blessed with golfing talent, this would be his Masters dinner of choice. Now, mine's a bit longer, so let's go to mine here, Henry, if we could. So I found this on Canva, by the way. The template I used, I had to pay for it, but I'm happy I did because this looks fantastic. So my menu, bacon wrapped steak skewers from Boston's Pizza, fantastic. If you've never had them, I suggest you try it. Bavarian pretzels, like the big soft pretzels you get, those are really good. I'd take some of those. And then the Chili's chip and dip trio, you get the queso, the salsa, and the guac. What else could you ask for in that? The first course, we're going to go with the Olive Garden chicken gnocchi soup with the side salad and breadsticks. I mean, come on now. Why wouldn't you want that as the first course? Henry agrees with me on that one in the back. The main course, Chick-fil-A crispy chicken sandwich, and waffle fries with the peach milkshake. Don't underestimate the peach milkshake, okay? That might be one of my favorite menu items at Chick-fil-A. We have one in the basement here at the Union. I would eat that every day of the week if it was offered to me. And the dessert, my stepmother makes a mean ice cream sandwich cake. It's ice cream sandwiches, frosting, caramel sauce, chocolate sauce. What else could you want with that? So that would be my menu. And since we are not, neither of us make enough money to afford those kinds of things, I went ahead and earlier today, I went out and bought stuff. So for the people at home, I know you're not so I asked what your Ben & Jerry's flavor was. I went out and got you one. It's the mint chocolate cookie flavor. I hope you enjoy that. And then I got the milk and cookies flavor for all of you. So if I can't get an ice cream sandwich cake, I'm going to get some of that. I brought spoons, so dig into that from the Union.
Right.
I got stuff from the Union. So yeah, it's a little melted because it's been sitting out for 4 hours. But again, don't eat on TV, right? Well, I'm going to. That's good stuff right there, boys and girls. Mm. Is that good? You never had Ben & Jerry's before. Is that any good?
No, it's good.
It's good? Okay, good.
That's good.
So I know you don't want to watch us eat, so we'll sign off for now. But next week, I'm sure we'll have some more some more coverage for the football program because there's never enough football news to chat about. And we'll have a Masters winner. So that'll be exciting to watch. So until then, for Ethan Eibach, I'm Grant Hubbard. This has been the Bison Overtime Show. Thank you for watching, and go Bison.